Hi, everyone. So, my name is Cristiano da Silva, and I'm from Toronto, Canada, and I'm a Portuguese Canadian. So, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes 2 years ago. And since that time, I've been encountered with a lot of medical technology that's shaped my life, but ultimately, it's kept me alive. And as someone that's incredibly interested and passionate about engineering and the combination of how we can use the environment and medical technology, I understand that while this technology is something that benefits myself, it's something that benefits people around the world. So, after I was introduced to this wide range of technology, the most notable being a continuous glucose monitor applicator. And now, this is a long piece of string of words, but shorten it to CGM. It's a device that goes into your skin and sends you notifications about your blood sugar. So, if you've ever been woken up in the morning by an alarm and it's frustrated you a lot, you can probably imagine the trauma of having to listen to the annoying Apple alarm wake you up at 4 a.m., especially during this time at the Rise Summit when you're woken up at 7 and you really don't want to get up. Or maybe you snoozed your alarm 4 times and then missed it. So, ultimately, while this technology for diabetes is frustrating, it's ultimately life saving. So while I was introduced to this wide range of technology, I noticed a glaring flaw. The environmental aspect of it is far underconsidered, and it produces far more environmental waste than I've ever been able to imagine, and I bet many of you couldn't as well. So this is the CGM that I'm talking about, and this is the device that's used to put it into your skin. The way I like to imagine it is it's like a gun that fires an applicator. So this is the applicator, and it fires this device onto your skin. But the problem is, whenever you use the gun, you throw out the bullet, but you also throw out the gun itself. So this device has to be thrown out every 10 days. It's not recyclable. Because it has a needle, it's biohazardous material. And at the same time, so incredibly frustrating, the actual applicator itself is too large to fit inside of any of the disposal containers that they give you. For me in Canada, it's a yellow sharps container, and you keep those in your house. But because it doesn't even fit in that, there's nowhere to put them. So I have a box of about 65 of them in my closet, and they're just piling up. Diabetes equipment is also incredibly expensive. One of these can run you $150, and monthly that can add up to over 400. So there's also an accessibility issue where if we can make these devices less impactful and less substantial in size and shipping costs and all these things, we can potentially improve the affordability and accessibility of the diabetes treatment. So while I was frustrated with the environmental aspect of this, I also noticed that it's very difficult to actually find places to throw these out because you can't fit them in your sharps containers. So I wanted to come up with a way that I can change this overall form factor and make the product itself reusable. So while you throw out the needle, you don't throw out the entire applicator. And so what I did, starting on with my Rise project, was I actually started with a very, very simple version of what my idea was. And the three goals I wanted to solve were to make it reusable so that you can take this outside shape and reuse that outside shape and then dispose of that inside part. Second issue I wanted to focus on was to tackle that recyclability. So after the reusable part gets bad, you throw it in the recycling bin and it's well. And then reduce, reuse, recycle. So I also wanted to make it reduce, reuse, recycle. Yeah, so I wanted to limit how much it actually has to be used. So reducing that element. Okay. So after I submitted my Rise project, I continued to work on the project and I actually made it functional. So this was a later model that I worked on and I ended up 3D printing this. So essentially, the way that my little design works is you take this outside component and then there's this inside part. This is where the needle is. This is the stuff that you don't really want anymore. So that you throw in your container, simple. It's great. But this top part that you get to keep reusing, and the button mechanism can continue to trigger the inside part. So I know that technology aspect of it might not necessarily be interesting to all of you, but the part that I think should be interesting is that it showcases how, although we have issues that we think are often out of our scope, and so for me, it was medical waste. While I know that one person on their own can't tackle the issue of medical waste, I know for the fact that if we take a small issue related to these grand issues, we can make it actionable. So if we take something that we're incredibly passionate about and we pick a very niche, specific subject within it, it makes it more motivating so that we can continue to work on it. And as innovators, while it's risky and it may feel like an approach that's difficult, I think that we have the ability to make a grand impact on it. Just as a quick side note, while I was working on that, they came out with a newer version of the model. And I want to say it's very similar to the one that I came up with. So I think I was on the right track. And just as innovators, once again, I think that we can continue to make a difference with what we do as long as we pick issues that are incredibly specific to us and we believe strongly and profoundly that we can have an impact on. Thank you.